welcome. I'm Tmzoids, and today we'll be talking about player health and the drugs in esports. I feel like after the whole spectate faker thing and all, whatever side you took on that, there was a big discussion about player safety and the care for our players in esports and our care for, just overall, workers. So I feel like this is a conversation that is overlooked, underpassed, especially on Reddit. It kind of gets brushed aside, which we'll talk about in a second. But esports and doping is nothing new. There's been a few articles on this. The Daily Dot has mentioned of articles of using Ritalin back in the past. I just Googled esports and doping, and I pulled up an article from 2014 on August, just explaining how doping is rampant and industry insider claims. It has a quote here saying, "I've seen players pop a pill even an hour before important games to either calm them down, or push themselves." He told News Scientist. This is not nothing new. This is, I think, an issue that we've had for a while, and I think this is an issue that we should be more focused on than the whole spectate faker thing. Like I said, drugs in esports is a huge thing, and I feel like I said it gets underlooked. And what kind of drugs are we using here? Well, it could be any kind of drugs. It could be a big fan of Adderall to calm people's nerves down. It could be Ritalin, as mentioned before, that also could calm you down or have an adverse effect, get you hyped up on other drugs. But why do I make this topic today? Well, the Daily Dot actually released an article about a Quake champion reportedly implicated in a $1 million drug bust. Now you read through the article and explains who this guy is, how old he is. He was 23 at the time. He goes by the name of AV3K, and he was the Quake champion back in 2007 when he was at the age of 16. And now he's 23, like I said. And a SWAT team raided his house, the supplier's apartment, and found 10.5 kilograms of marijuana, 1.5 kilograms of amphetamines, thousands of ecstasy pills, body armor, and guns. Now, if that's not ringing any bells, it should be. Why is it old Quake champion, somebody that's playing video games, have this much drugs? Why does he have all this? And you're like, oh, well, he's young, he's influenced by a bunch of people, and he just gets in with the wrong crowd. And I'm sitting here thinking, if he's a video game player and he's anything like the general, not to generalize people, but anything like a general video game player, he's very focused on the game. He wants to be great at video games. He wants to do the best he can do, and you just don't have time for drugs. You don't have time or money for drugs usually, depending on what you play. There's a funny meme going out there that has, it's got a bunch of children playing Magic, and they sit there and they're all playing cards, and it says, if you don't want your kids to do drugs, get them into Magic, aka Magic the Gathering. You just spend tons and tons of money on that because you always want to get better and bigger cards. And just a little funny meme. But this topic has been talked about and it kind of brushed to the side and not taken seriously, I think. As you saw, the Daily Dot, it has 218 shares on it. Most of those being likes from Facebook and 36 tweets. And tweets are not really good. It's possible that one or two famous people tweeted them out and has a big following on Twitter. And, they're very noticeable on Twitter and gets more and more retweets from that. But the big thing is Reddit. And I say Reddit because I feel like, you post something on Reddit and there's a few people out there that just camp the bottom of the new post. And if they don't like you or they see a name they don't like, they instantly downvote it. Or it's something that's just not of interest. It just dissipates and doesn't get anywhere, or gets downvoted to oblivion. And it really has to be pushed and it has to be really shoved to make it to the top. And it's like a democracy. It kind of goes with the popular opinion. And right now, the popular opinion is not talking about this or player health. But I found this outrageous, like how this article is made. It was just 2 days old, and he's holding all these drugs, and we're not going, well, why? And you can say, oh, well, it's just Quake. It's not happening in esports. But it is. It is happening in esports. It's happening all over the place, and we're just kind of looking off to the side, and we're not really paying attention to it. And here we are complaining about spectate faker, complaining and talking about players' rights and protecting the player, and here we are letting our players, use drugs and use these substances to either calm themselves down or hype themselves up for a game. I think it's outrageous and needs to be talked more. Going off that, I think the recent trash talk with Richard Lewis that he conducts every week on Tuesdays. Yeah, somebody did call in and talk about mental health, and actually other people chimed in after this, one being in the esports business. And another thing that gets on notice is depression. Depression and mental health never get talked about in esports. You never really talk about it, and I guess a lot of people would say the biggest esports. I'm talking about League of Legends, of course, when I talk about esports. The biggest name or poster boy that comes to mind, a lot of people for mental health and mental stability would be your one and only lovable Glebe. As we all know, Glebe is bipolar, and he's come forward about that, and he is addressing that on his own and taking the steps he needs to address that. But I feel like there's a lot more people out there, a lot more people that you don't talk about, or a lot of people that are in the Challenger series that are maybe not as famous, or people within famous teams that you have no idea. They venture into these drugs. They take these drugs on a day-to-day basis to stay awake so they can scrim for long hours and play games for long hours, or they can go in and take Adderall so they can stay focused in the game and be very calm during games because they don't want the nerves to take over them. And here we are. We're not talking about it. Why? Why is it not talked about? And like I said, it's a popular opinion right now. We don't want to see people, and we don't want to believe that people within the esports does drugs because we feel like, oh, if they're too busy playing video games all the time, oh, they play the video game 24/7. How do they have time to take a drug, or when do they pop these pills? They stream all day, stream all night. It's impossible for them taking drugs. I don't see them taking drugs. And it takes 2 seconds. All you got to do, oh, be right back. You pop something in, and it's in your system. Whatever it may do to you, whatever the drug may be, it's that simple, and it's that unnoticeable. And I feel like a lot of times when it comes to depression, it's hard to reach out for help. And when you reach out for help, depending on the response you get, it can be very, very painful experience. Some people may be shy back and not reach out for help again. They reach out to somebody, maybe their manager, maybe another team player, and they don't get the response that they were expecting, or they get a negative response about depression, or they get a jokingly response, and they don't bring it up again. And this is serious. It's very serious, very, very bad topic because when you have somebody as famous as a Quake champion, and it doesn't even have to be Quake, it could be any sport, somebody that's at the top of the top, playing games all the time, mentally stressed, going through a lot on their own because they're in high school or they're just getting out of high school and this is their life and their job. You're depending on income, and this is your way of life. If you lose a game, every game you win or lose can be the last game and every game that you have in the job, and you don't really have a backup plan. A lot of these kids, don't have a backup plan. This is it. They've put everything forward to this. They've dropped out of school. They're done with school. They haven't gone to college. They don't have a degree. Some of them do. Some of them don't. But this is all they have. And you've seen many vlogs from pro players saying, oh, crying, upset that, they couldn't succeed. They couldn't uh, really reach where they want to be, and they don't know what they're going to do, and they don't really want to go back to school, and this is their life. Like, they spent so many years and so much time into this game, and here we are, just not ignore it. We're like, oh, well, that's okay. Don't feel bad. We're here for you. But you don't understand. If that person's depressed and you have 20 positive comments, one negative comment can ruin all 20 positive comments, and it's hard for people to wrap around their heads. And depression itself is hard to wrap around a lot of people's heads. And when it comes to depression, people are like, oh, you just gotta be happy. If you're positive and you be happy, you can do it, and you just need the motivation. I'm here. Why aren't you happy? I'm doing everything I can for you. Well, that's not the case. People when you're depressed, you can do everything in the world. That doesn't mean that they're happy again. It doesn't mean that, oh, all of a sudden because you offered to hang out with them or you're with them or you're 24/7 talking with them doesn't mean that they're happy. It may be still hard for that person to get out of bed, and that's the biggest thing. When you're sitting in bed and you're like, I have no reason to get up, you're depressed. And you're like, why? Why is that? And nobody really knows. It's just a mental disease that it's unknown. And it's scary. Not a lot of people want to talk about it. This is something that you don't want to relate to in esports, something that, the managers and the higher ups don't want to talk about. But I think we should bring it to the forefront. I think that Trash Talk thread and multiple news stories that I can post down below, which will be in the description, which you can read over, have talked about this, with the drugs, with depression. And I think it comes hand in hand. I think if we tackle this problem, we have a tougher drug policy, and we have a better implication for our players and our, teams to, really reach out and have ways and different ways to reach out and get help, then that would be great. This is a good step. I think that would actually eliminate a lot of the drug problems that we have. And it also, with the policy of the drug policy that I talked about, I'm not going to this step of we need to get everybody tested and the people that are doing drugs should be kicked out. No, I think that should be a reason. If we do test them, we shouldn't ultimately punish them, and we shouldn't like make them feel like they're a terrible person because they're doing drugs. Like I said, there's multiple reasons they could be doing these drugs. They could be depressed. The games are very stressful, long hours. It's very, very serious topic that I think gets brushed to the side, doesn't get talked about, and it in and out. I remember when Sky made his video, it became really popular, made it the front page of Reddit. Everybody's like, oh my god, depression is such a terrible thing. He made such a beautiful video, and he got thousands and thousands of emails because they didn't know who to talk to. They didn't know. They thought it's all confidential, and all, Sky is only one person. It's bigger than that, and sometimes people just don't know how to respond. Yes, Sky was very nice to do that, and he really reached out to a lot of people. But at the same time, when you're in a house with kids or adults your age, 16 through 23 years old or 24 years old, and you're playing this game nonstop, and you have your friend, or you consider them your friend, and you reach out to them, and some of them don't know how to respond. Some of them have never been through that. None of them know that feeling. They don't know what to do. And I'm not saying that they're being irresponsible and not taking the next step. I'm sure there may be behind the scenes, we don't know, that players are taking that next step. And I hope the players are taking that next step to get them more help, saying, hey, let's go talk to the manager. Let's go talk to the team coach, and let's get you help, because I really want you to be happy. I want you to be successful, and I don't want you to be result in, like I said, these substance abuses. And like I said, they come in hand, I think. But drugs and esports is nothing new. I'm not saying that the main reason is depression. I think that could be one of the reasons, or not just depression, but any mental disease or mental impact that you have from playing this game from very long, various hours, and streaming long, strenuous hours, and wanting to be the best, and also having that pressure on you that every game counts. This is your job, this is it, and you have to depend on four other people that may or may not do really good that game, and every game you may be kicked out, and you may not have an alternate route. One of the prime examples I can tell you is Loco Doco. I mean, he's a great coach now for TSM, but you have to look at his past. I remember when he made multiple vlogs, he was so upset, so devastated. He's like, I didn't make it. What am I going to do? Maybe I'm going to go back to school. He was so unsure because he didn't like school. He liked school, but that's not what he wanted to do. League of Legends was his passion. He wanted to keep playing. He thought he was a good player. He was one of the best of the best. And here he is now down the line. He was an analyst. He worked with different teams, and all of a sudden he ends up in TSM. And he's great. He's a great coach. He's brought TSM all the way to the top. Yes, TSM as a team still has problems, but he's done great things for the team. And I think instead of, like I said, talking about the spectate faker thing, and talking about player harm, and caring for our players, and we want the best for our players, as Riot says, then I want to see that there's more outlets, more opportunities for players to go out and get help, or opportunities to have like staff on 20, not 24 hours, but of course like staff there instantly attainable for players to get within Riot. Train psychologists, train physicians that can help them, and maybe they don't have to result in these drugs. And who knows where they're getting these drugs? I don't think, like I said, some of these you cannot buy from a doctor. Like the guns and ammo, of course, from the Quake player is not from a doctor, and amphetamines are not from the doctor either, I'm sure. And of course, maybe or maybe not, the weed could be medical marijuana weed. We don't know. Most likely not. But this also eliminates that outside process, reaching out to bad people who have these substances that may or may not have the correct drug for them. Because you're taking what this person sold you doesn't mean it's actually that, as we all know, if we took drug class. But it's an our danger. Why do we have to wait till a player gets hurt? Why do we have to wait till a player gets into the hospital? Why do we have to wait till a player, you know, I guess, becomes a whistleblower about these mental problems, or become a poster boy like Glebe for these mental problems to become an issue? I think we should talk about it now. It should be talked about all the time. It should be mentioned. We should see progress within Riot. We should see progress within the esports industry, and we should see a tackle on this drug problem. Like I said, I'm not saying we should result in drug testing. I say if that's the route they want to go and you want to start drug testing your players, then I don't think they should be punished. I don't think they should be scrutinized for what that was found in the system. I think there should be a background story for most of these young players. Like I said multiple times throughout this video, they go through strenuous hours, scrimming and solo queuing all day. They want to be the best of the best. This is their job. This is their way of income. A lot of them don't have many options outside of this. They haven't gone to school. They don't have a degree. They don't plan to go back to school. A lot of them, their parents were not supportive of this because it's still a new topic. When you go tell your father and mother, oh, I'm going to become a professional video gamer, people, your father and mother are not used to that. They're like, when I was back in my day, we used to play Mario, and there's no competitions for Mario. Um, I'm sure there's competitions now for Mario, who can beat Mario's level faster, but that's besides the point. I get off the topic. Ultimately, I feel like with the Daily Dots, recent article about the Poland drug bust from the Quake champion, and the multiple articles that I've gotten from the New Scientist and the Daily Dot before, and of course the Trash Talk thread from Richard Lewis in the past, talking about mental health and getting help within esports. I think it's a serious topic. I feel like more people need to keep this in the forefront. I feel like there's a lot of times, not just within esports, but when we talk about problems within the United States or in the country, such as domestic violence and drug problems, we talk about it for the time being, and it's all fresh in our brain. And when we're talking about it, we either think it's a sad story and we relate to it one way or another, and then if it stops getting talked about and it slowly slides down, and then you don't hear about it again, it disappears. It's like it's not a problem anymore. Oh, it's not a problem anymore. The best example I can give you is the NFL. We talked about you all the time. We heard on the news Ray Rice hit his wife. He hit his wife. He knocked her out. You think that it was just a one-time experience? No. Do you think it's just him? No. It's multiple people. It's just not famous people. It's people all over the world. People experience the same problems, not just within esports, within their job, working long, tedious hours. Maybe it's depression. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's the mental health. Wherever the case may be, it is a serious topic, and I think it should be talked about over and over again. And I will link all the articles down below. I do appreciate the support. Please share, comment, and like on this video. I don't do it for my own sake. I just want you to talk about this topic. Share your experiences if you like. You can also contact me on my Facebook and Twitter if you have something personal that you'd like to talk about. I can do my best to reach out to you and be there for you. But that is all. Thank you all, and goodbye.